one entrepreneur has been in the spotlight more than ever. Pranay Chulet, the founder and CEO of Quikr.com. Yes, the same company with the many TV ads of late.
I sold it for 5 grand.
Sell anything quicker.
Quikr is an online free classifieds platform which helps encourage offline transactions between a buyer and a seller who can meet on the platform. While statistics are hard to find and differ, the latest and most detailed report by crowdscience.com shows that the online classifieds market in 2011 was 8% of the nearly $15 billion online advertising space, making it a $1.2 billion market globally. According to Quikr's latest numbers, the company claims to have touched 26 million visitors per month. Hence, it's no surprise that Quikr has raised $50 million in funding since it began in 2008 from 4 leading internet venture caps and one surprise private equity partner who has pumped in the most. Oh, did I mention eBay's in on it too? None of who after 5 rounds of funding have exited the company. A BTech and MBA from IIT and IIM, Quikr is Pranay's second venture. The first being the web education startup called Exceler.com. VCCircle caught up with Pranay Chulet at the offices of Quikr.com to discuss what the company's next phase of growth would be and what his targets are for 2015.
I think the basic genesis of this company is, we thought it makes a lot of sense for a model like this in India, especially because we are still a developing market where a lot of people do not have credit cards. A lot of people are still getting to there are a lot of first-time users of the internet, right? And for them to go and directly purchase something online without ever seeing the product, without ever actually touching and feeling the product, it is obviously a lot of people are doing it, but there's an even larger section of the society that will take some time to get there.
Okay.
So Quikr is a model that made a lot of sense because it's a classifieds platform where buyers and sellers actually meet each other. The buyer actually sees the product or meets the seller if the seller is a service provider, and then makes up his or her mind. So a model like this where people are benefiting from the power of internet in terms of identifying the party they can transact with, but the transaction happens offline, we thought it makes a lot of sense. And I think our growth is kind of a testament to the fact that the model does have good applicability in India.
What are the revenue streams for Quikr today, and how is the business model really operating?
Yeah, so overall, the power of this platform is that it's free to most users, right? And that's the reason we have grown to the size we have grown. A lot of people, they just want to, let's say, buy a used car or sell their TV or rent out their flat, and if they can do it without actually incurring a cost, it appeals, especially it appeals to the great Indian love for value for money, right? So that is a power because of which these platforms grow very quickly in size. Now, in terms of the business model, there are, at least in our case, there are 3 different revenue sources that we have. One is good old advertising, right? You can do text advertising on the website, you can do display advertising on the website, on the mobile side. The second is premium listings. So as the platform matures, right, some of your users start valuing the responses they are getting from the platform enough that they, on an optional basis, want to pay you. You don't compulsorily ask them to pay, but some of them actually say, no, I want more responses for renting out my flat or selling my car. And they would say, I don't mind paying a few hundred rupees, especially if I'm paying thousands of rupees to post a classified ad in a print publication. I don't mind paying a few hundred rupees to a digital platform, as long as I have the trust that that platform will deliver to me more responses, good responses. So that's the second source, premium listings. And third, last but not the least, is lead generation for small businesses. See, what happens is, we operate in categories like real estate, motorcycles, cars, and so on. And in these categories, there are a lot of small businesses who start using these platforms because they feel like they can get more business from it. And over time, as long as you are doing your job well and they're getting more business from you, they will start asking you for leads. It's almost like a natural phenomenon. So you have to be at the critical mass, and your platform has to work well enough that they start asking you. But that's the time that you can turn on the lead generation engine as well.
So 26 million users in total every month. So I can understand the cost per impression for the sort of advertising revenue. But give us an understanding about premium listing and lead generation. How do they really, or how much volume, or how much do they really contribute to the overall revenue streams?
See, I couldn't speak specifically to the numbers, but all I can say is, our revenue is a lot more than what you might guess, but a lot less than what it's going to be in the next 2-3 years. But just to give you the sense, I mean, we generate substantial amounts from advertising, but we're also beginning to generate substantial amounts from these premium listings that I talked about.
Okay.
And I think in the long run, all these three sources, advertising, lead generation, and premium listings, should be all three of them should be very important.
Okay. Let me just say, Quikr has got almost every big private equity and venture capital on its list. So what are you selling? What is the USP of Quikr that they are buying, which other classifieds are not really getting into?
I think we are quicker, so that is clearly one clear distinction between us and others who may be trying to compete with us.
Okay.
Then I would say we have the best team in the market, and see these businesses when you're starting to build it, when you build them from ground up, the team becomes the most important part of the business, right? And to borrow a phrase from a great man, you can never underestimate the power of 5 guys in blue jeans.
Okay.
So we are a small team that works nimbly, that has a very agile way of looking at things.
But where are you getting this team from? Like, who's training the team, or how are they more talented than the rest?
No, see, we have, I would say we have a very good mix of global and local experience on our team.
Okay.
Some of these are people who have been in the industry for a long time in India. Some of these are people who've returned from the US, etc., to join us. Most people have been to the best schools around the globe.
Okay.
And some people are actually not from the industry, but we thought they are talented and they will do justice to the cause, so we brought them as well.
Okay. You're very well funded right now. Yeah. What are you going to do with the funds? How are you trying to deploy them? Is that going to bring in a next phase of growth?
Yeah, I think, see, for us, the biggest focus going forward would be, in addition to continuing to, let's say, develop the platform and, investing in the best team possible, we are already more aggressive on marketing than you've seen us, let's say, 2 years ago. And the reason for that is, we wanted to make sure, our belief is, this platform, first needs to grow organically. You can't just throw a lot of money at the market and you can expect that people will start coming and, let's say, buying or selling products. And the reason for that is, you need to have enough supply and demand in your system that you are able to fulfill another new user who's going to use you.
Okay.
If you go and you market, heavily, let's say, on the internet, you will get a lot of people maybe, coming to buy stuff. But if you don't have anybody selling stuff, they are not going to get a good experience. So from our point of view, what we did was we basically, for the first 2-3 years, we built the business in a very organic way.
Okay.
So this was, and just to specifically point that out, we started getting aggressive in marketing, let's say 7-8 months ago.
Okay.
Before that,
I want to stop you there and ask you, why is that happening? Because we've seen players across all the board, really going aggressive on marketing in this particular space of time, the 7-8 months that you're talking about. So why this particular time? Is there some indication on market? Is there something changing?
No, from our point of view, I think one thing is, the mobile internet is taking off, so we expect the market to grow substantially. And we want to be there for people who may not have used us in the past, who are just coming into the internet market now, right? Second is, we think, again, we were already at a point now, with these 25-26 million users a month, we were at a point where we thought now we can take the story to the market.
Okay.
It is very different from, a new platform. If we had a new platform and we started, advertising heavily, I'm not sure if that is a successful strategy. But for us, for a long time, for maybe 2 years or so, before the last 6 months, we were the biggest open secret in the Indian internet.
Okay.
The number of users who came to Quikr were far more than, most internet companies, and certainly, any e-commerce company in terms of the user base we had.
Okay.
But people did not know the size, right? People who were using us, they would come and they would, get a successful transaction. But we never went to mass media initially, and we were not like trying to tom that we are so big, because we wanted to make sure once we actually go to mass media, we should be able to deliver a successful experience, a good experience to a user.
Okay.
So we felt about 6-8 months ago we are at that point. So we started getting more aggressive on marketing, and I think you'll actually see us getting more and more aggressive.
So where will you use the next phase of the remaining amount of funds? Where will you deploy that?
I think for us, product is a supreme, continues to be one of the most important areas where we continue to invest. But I think marketing is something where, we would be a lot more.
So you can see a sustained marketing campaign for over a longer time?
Absolutely, because the reason for that is, we are the biggest in the market, and we just want to make sure we further build on that lead. We did not go aggressive on marketing for the reasons I described.
But globally, companies like Craigslist and all that, they don't do marketing like this. Why is it necessary to do marketing like this here?
See, I would say Craigslist is a bit of an exception, right? Because Craigslist, it was started in the 90s. They had like a good, runway of 10 years, right? Before anybody else realized how big Craigslist has become. And now everybody is sort of in on the secret. So you want to build these platforms fast, right? So if you look at successful platforms like this that have been built in other countries after the US, a lot of them have gone for mass market advertising. It makes sense to build that brand quickly.
All right. If investors are putting a lot of money into companies like Quikr, are they under the belief that the success of what happened in the States and what OLX is doing globally in BRIC countries, is that a reflection of what can happen here? Or is India a different market completely?
No, I think India is a very different market. And most markets are different.
Because internet adoption here is still fairly small, So I wonder if of course 26 million users it's a great number, but internet adoption is still quite small. So are we looking at a long-term return kind of thing from investor point of view?
Yeah. I think we've always invited investors in our company who are long-term believers in this business. Each market is, I think there's a firm belief, and that's like ingrained in our DNA, that this business has to be built locally. You have to, essentially what is Quikr today? It is a collection of cities, individual like 90 cities, and each of them is a collection of localities. So these transactions get done at a local level. So in our view, it makes a lot more sense to actually crack the model completely on a very local way. So the kind of things we do on mobile, the kind of things we do in our apps, on SMS, mobile browser, and a lot of them are sort of examples of how we think the business needs to be built in a very local way. So from that point of view, I would say our investors have invested, have come into the company believing that the local approach is the right way to go with.
Many of your investors have not taken exits from Quikr. They've come in and you had another round of funding, but they're not really completely exited. So what is that big final exit for many of these investors? What will you give them as a big exit? Is that going to be an IPO in years to come, or is that going to be another big partner, or are you going to sell out? So we're wondering at the end what is going to be the exit?
Well, I can't speak very specifically to
Let me rephrase that. What is your end goal for Quikr?
No, so I'll tell you. See, we are basically building the business, as one should build a good business, right? Without keeping in mind a specific exit route, right? I think this business makes a lot of sense. Our investors, they've not taken exits because I think they are, everybody wants to ride the winning horse, right? So I think they are, they're all long-term believers in the business, like I said. And thankfully the company has continued to do well over the years.
Just from a customer point of view, I want to know how you're handling this enormous amount of traffic that's coming. Because online buying, online auctioning has been there for a long time. And even a buyer and seller would meet offline and finish a transaction. But how are you ensuring that customer experience remains good when a buyer and seller are going to do everything offline?
Well, I think the first thing, so there are several things you do to make sure, because it's a handshake platform. We are staying slightly away from the transaction, and because of that, we need to make sure that every user who's, let's say, listing something for sale on our platform, that listing is good, right, and that listing actually is a valid listing. Because what happens is when a platform becomes successful, you also end up attracting some unwanted elements, right? There might be spammers, scamsters. So you need to make sure that you manage it very carefully. So what we do is we try to review every listing that goes on the platform through a combination of technology and people. So there'll be we have good deep tools that will try to identify, either block unwanted listings or flag them. Then we have a team that will review them. So these are sort of two layers, technology and people, but then on top of it, also we constantly educate our users, saying, see, this is like conducting a newspaper classifieds transaction, right? So when you look at, let's say, a used car ad in a newspaper, or you used to look at it, right? Nobody does that as much anymore. You would actually go to the seller, you would also evaluate the product, as a buyer, right? As opposed to only relying on the fact that you saw an ad. Right? So here also we educate our users that it will be good for them also to evaluate the product or service they are buying on their own.
There are many players today in the market. Now you've not totally ruled out an inorganic route. Would you want to look at some players, or do you think that there are viable players today to acquire?
Yeah, see, we are an industry, it's a dynamic industry, so yeah, that very much is, it is one of the options that I think now when, we have our core engine humming, it is certainly one of the possibilities. But of course, I think the core engine continues to grow on its own.
Okay.
So we want to make sure that, that is not impacted at all.
So you would say players other than the two majors, that is Quikr and OLX, there are other players also there who are doing a reasonably good job?
See, I would say, I always sort of distinguish, a market with a lot of competition with a market with a lot of noise.
Okay.
So I think what we have is a case where, classifieds in a way is a very deceptively simple business. A lot of people think they can sort of slap together this 3-4 page website, there's a posting ad page, there's a viewing ad page, and, there's a listings page, and start a website. But I think that it takes a lot more than that to create a business.
Okay.
And from that point of view, I won't say, there are too many, very strong players in the market.
Okay. Okay. Give me an idea of, what is the market today in India in terms of size? Because, we've got analytics all over the place. Every analytic company has got different numbers for, different conditions. But what does Quikr go by? What are the analytics you go by? So when you place a target, what are the analytics you go by for market size in India, the pace of growth in India? What are they?
See, I think the right way to look at this market is, I would say across print and digital. Because, there, obviously it will be a huge, some billion plus number. But I think what we do is we closely watch the macro trends.
Okay.
Right. So we would, look at, the growth rates in user base, because, our growth in the business will be driven by how many people are literally coming online as very, first time users, basic users of the internet, right? So we look at that macro trend very carefully, in some ways, even more than what a report says about the market size, because the market size clearly will grow several fold as more and more users come online.
All right. What is the target that you set yourself for the total number of users in years to come? Now you've got 26 million users per month, but what would that be? Have you set a target for the next 2 or 3 years?
I would just say I would be shocked if we are not at least 5 times this size within the next 3 years. And the reason for that is very simple. India is the first major market in the world where the number of mobile-only internet users would dwarf, desktop internet users, pretty quickly from here on. So given that, I think all of us are in for a very nice surprise where the market size, for the entire digital industry, I think would grow, several times on the back of mobile.
Okay.
And that's where I think a big part of the growth will come.
Could you emphasize more on that? I want to understand what is the percentage of mobile users to PC users at present. Is there also a rate, is the mobile space growing far more than the PC space?
Yeah, so I guess one of the, it's a good problem to have that we never have like good data on the Indian internet space, because it shows that it's a growing industry and it's growing fast enough that people are not able to fully gauge the numbers. But I would say, I think in my view, the number of mobile and non-mobile internet users are probably even in terms of their size now.
Okay.
Mobile is clearly growing faster, and right now, so far the mobile internet growth has been still driven by the non-mobile internet users beginning to use mobile, to a large extent. Although there are a lot of mobile-only internet users already. I think going forward this will change. We will stop being like a English-speaking internet population. A lot of vernacular internet will take off because of mobile.
Okay.
So a lot of people who may not be, who may be very far from what the internet user looks like today, would I think start coming into the market.
In terms of demographics, are you seeing a certain part of the country being more responsive to online classifieds, and is there a part where you're not seeing that much growth?
No, I would say it's a fairly evenly spread growth across geographies as well as in fact categories.
Okay.
So we are growing, I would say, very fast, whether you look at, specific bigger cities, smaller cities, you also look at, real estate as a category versus automobiles versus electronics, all these things are sort of growing, which is, again, I think it's a broad platform that appeals to the mass market. I would say, again, our objective very much would be to make sure we are probably, somewhere like, double of our current size, and I definitely think that goal is very achievable. again, continue to attract the best talent. That I think remains a priority in the company. And I think you should see some pretty interesting moves from us on the marketing side.
All right. Pranay Chulet, on that note, thank you for talking to us.